The world before light was a quiet place, not silent, for even then the universe murmured in low frequencies, but dim, patient, waiting. You drift through that primordial calm, sensing the ocean's dark embrace, the slow churn of molecules suspended in time. It is a world of potential, held in stillness. The surface ripples faintly under the weight of expectation, and then a photon arrives. It travels an impossible distance, born in the heart of a star, crossing space with no sense of time. When it finally reaches Earth, it touches the water gently, like the first breath after endless waiting. One spark, then another, and the dark ocean becomes dappled with faint golden ripples. You watch as light begins to move across the waves, not hurried, but curious. This is how life begins, not with noise, but with a shimmer. You imagine being one of the ancient molecules floating in that sea. Carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, simple, unknowing. When light touches you, something stirs. The energy shifts your bonds, pulling atoms closer, rearranging them into new forms. The ocean, once inert, becomes a silent laboratory. The first chemical whispers of photosynthesis echo faintly, energy captured, stored, and shared. Each photon is a messenger from the sun, carrying a single note of possibility. When absorbed by pigment, it becomes a spark of transformation. The earliest ancestors of chlorophyll awaken in tiny cyanobacteria drifting near the surface. They begin to use this gift, light turned to life. With every captured ray, they breathe out oxygen, a soft exhale into the young sky. You sense the shift, an invisible yet world-altering sigh. The air begins to change. The once toxic atmosphere slowly clears, bathed in the generosity of green light. The cyanobacteria multiply, floating like dust motes in water, turning sunlight into sustenance. The rhythm of photosynthesis begins. Inhale carbon, exhale oxygen, repeat. You feel it like a pulse, a steady heartbeat of the planet itself. Light, it seems, has learned to stay. You close your eyes and feel it on your own skin now, warmth seeping through, comforting, ancient. Every living thing you have ever known, every tree, every breath, began with this silent conversation between light and molecule. You are connected to that first shimmer, that moment of awakening. You are the descendant of sunlight, drifting deeper into the story. You imagine what it meant for the world to see color for the first time. When light entered the biological world, it brought with it the concept of hue. Pigments evolved to capture energy, but they also created beauty. The emerald of leaves, the gold of dawn, the violet of distant petals, all are echoes of that first dialogue between sun and sea. You travel now through the green age of Earth, oceans blooming with microscopic light, releasing rivers of oxygen into the sky. Over millions of years, this quiet process transforms the planet. The atmosphere fills, clouds form, the blue of the sky deepens. The world begins to breathe in rhythm with its own creation. Light becomes not just a source of energy, but a storyteller, shaping the pace of days, guiding migrations, painting the surface of the world with life. You feel it as a pulse beneath your thoughts. Photosynthesis, steady, eternal, humble. You drift closer to a leaf, not just any leaf, but the idea of one. Paper-thin, translucent, veins like rivers of purpose. Each cell is a tiny factory of balance. Carbon in, oxygen out, energy flowing quietly in cycles. You enter one of these cells and find yourself within a green-lit cathedral. Chloroplasts drift like lanterns. Membranes shimmer with captured sunlight. Electrons dance in circuits of transformation. The process feels sacred, not mechanical, but musical. Photons strike the chlorophyll, and energy ripples outward. Water molecules split, hydrogen and oxygen part ways, like old friends. The oxygen escapes, destined for the breath of future creatures. The hydrogen stays, carrying light's energy deeper into the cell, weaving it into sugars, the sweet storage of sunlight. You realize the leaf is not merely alive, it is listening. It listens to the rhythm of the sun, opening its pores in daylight, closing them under stars. It knows when to reach toward warmth and when to rest in cool shadow. It speaks in the language of gas and light, and its every response is an act of devotion to balance. As you breathe, you join the same rhythm, inhale, exhale, the mirror of photosynthesis. You give carbon, the leaf gives oxygen. This silent exchange binds you, molecule to molecule, in a conversation that began billions of years ago and never ended. You are part of the same flow, part of the same unfolding. The thought soothes you that the act of simply breathing connects you to oceans of ancient light in this calm. You sense something larger, the realization that life is not just sustained by light, but shaped by it. From your eyes that see, to your skin that feels warmth, to your circadian rhythms that follow the sun's path, every living process within you is an echo of those first photons. You are built from the memory of dawn, and yet, even now, the process continues, humble, unending. In every forest, in every coral reef, on every blade of grass, light becomes life, again and again. The planet glows faintly, not just reflected sunlight, but the stored radiance of photosynthesis. The earth, you realize, is a breathing lantern floating in the dark, its surface shimmering with quiet metabolism. Watching the play of light through atmosphere and leaf, ocean and sky, you see how everything that lives shares a single heartbeat, synced to the sun. The first light never really left. It just changed form into energy, into breath, into you. Somewhere in the distance, the day softens toward twilight. The colors fade into blue and violet. You sense that even as the sun sets, photosynthesis carries on within memory, a balance maintained through night and rest. And as darkness returns, a quiet question lingers, a question that will guide you softly toward the next chapter. If light began life, what stories does the night continue to tell when the sun is gone? The world exhales softly after the long brilliance of day. The last rays of sunlight stretch thin through the canopy, kissing the edges of leaves with gold. You lie beneath them, eyes half closed, watching how the light fades slowly, respectfully, as if bidding farewell to each living thing it has touched above you. The forest breathes, every leaf, every blade of grass carries within it a rhythm not of words or music, but of silent exchange. You feel it as a pulse in the air, a soft hum between the molecules of life. The leaves are speaking, not with voices, but with chemistry and light. You inhale, and they exhale. This quiet conversation has been happening for millions of years, long before language, long before thought. The leaves speak through signals, pulses, and scents. They sense the warmth of the day, the approach of dusk, the brush of wind. When one leaf feels the gentle pressure of a caterpillar's bite, others nearby already begin to prepare, strengthening themselves, shifting the flow of nutrients. Whispering warnings in chemical syllables, you imagine the forest not as a collection of trees, but as one vast, breathing mind. Roots link the soil like neural threads, carrying messages deeper than sight can follow. Sugars, minerals, water, and information travel together like thoughts moving through a living circuit. The trees are not alone. They are a network, a web of awareness woven in green, and you, lying still beneath them, are part of that conversation. Each breath you take mingles with theirs, carbon meeting oxygen in a dance as old as light itself. The air between you vibrates faintly with the memory of photosynthesis. The leaf above your face quivers, its stomata, the tiny pores through which it breathes, opening and closing like the slow rhythm of your own chest. You realize that breathing and speaking are not so different. Both are forms of exchange, of offering and receiving in the gentle evening glow. The green around you shifts from radiant to reflective. The sun's departure does not end their dialogue, it only changes its tone. When night comes, the leaves turn inward. Their chloroplasts rest, but the forest remains alive with slower whispers if you listen carefully. You can sense it, faint electrical impulses flickering within stems and veins. The trees communicate through microcurrents, much like the neurons in your brain. When one root meets another, they exchange not just water, but memory, a record of droughts, of sunlight, of storms survived. The forest, you realize, remembers. This memory does not speak in human time. A tree's thought might take an hour to travel from root to crown. Its patience is vast, its awareness measured in centuries. To live as a leaf is to exist in gentle repetition, opening to light, resting in darkness, offering oxygen with devotion. Yet within that repetition lies intelligence, not the kind that solves, but the kind that knows. You close your eyes and let your senses drift inward. Imagine yourself becoming small enough to rest upon a leaf's surface. The world magnifies into an emerald plain. Beneath you, 1,000 tiny pores open and close, releasing vapor like soft sighs. Through them, carbon dioxide flows inward, invisible threads of nourishment drawn from your breath. Inside, the light-captured sugars pulsed through green corridors, guided by unseen hands. Now you are within the leaf, floating in a sea of light. The chloroplasts shimmer around you, spinning slowly like planets. They are the quiet engines of existence, each one a little sun within a cell. Electrons leap across membranes in delicate choreography, their movement powered by the memory of daylight. Energy transforms and flows, never lost, only translated. And then you notice something beautiful. When one chloroplast receives too much light, it shares the excess with its neighbors. It releases gentle pulses of fluorescence, soft signals that say, "I have enough. Take what you need." Even at the microscopic level, generosity is written into life. The leaf's secret language is built on sharing, on balance, on quiet harmony. Outside, night deepens. The stars begin to pierce the canopy, tiny reflections of the chloroplasts within. The forest above you seems to mirror the sky, both vast, both luminous, both alive You think of how humans have always looked upward for meaning, forgetting sometimes that the same constellations exist beneath their feet. The roots, like galaxies, branch infinitely into darkness. Each one touches another, forming networks of silent collaboration. Fungi thread between them, the mycorrhizal filaments, carrying messages and nutrients across the woodland floor. When one tree hungers, another offers. When one is hurt, others respond. The forest is not a competition. It is a community of breathing, glowing minds. Speaking in chemical poetry, you feel comfort in this, that existence is not isolation, but participation. A breeze moves through the canopy, and the leaves rustle softly. It sounds like rain, but lighter, as if the forest is whispering secrets too delicate for human language. You imagine it saying, "We remember the light. We store it. We share it. We wait." It is a rhythm that continues in you to dot, for even your own body is fluent in this silent language of nature. The cells in your skin respond to sunlight, translating photons into warmth and signals. Your brain measures the fading light and tells you when to rest. Inside you, a quiet circadian orchestra plays, its timing guided by the same sun that wakes the leaves. You and the forest follow the same conductor. In that realization, your heartbeat slows. The night no longer feels separate. It feels like a continuation of the day's conversation. The photosynthesis of the daylight now becomes respiration in the dark. The energy once stored in green begins its journey through the web of life, leaf to insect, insect to bird, bird to earth again. The story of sunlight continues through every mouth that eats and every lung that breathes. It is retold endlessly, without hurry, without end. You open your eyes and see the silhouette of the forest against the starlit sky. For a moment, it looks like a vast, inverted lung, branches reaching upward, roots reaching down, each part exchanging with the other. The earth itself seems to breathe, its inhale and exhale filling the space between galaxies, and you are part of that breath. In this awareness, sleepiness drifts over you like dew. The forest's hum becomes slower, more intimate. You imagine curling up inside a single leaf, warm and weightless, listening to the low heartbeat of the plant. You feel protected, cradled by chlorophyll and care. The leaf's language no longer feels foreign. You understand now that it has always been speaking to you, through scent, through rhythm, through the air you share. Every breath you take is a response, a continuation of that ancient dialogue between sunlight and green. Time seems to dissolve. The night expands. You feel the molecules of your body mingling with the forest's. Your breath becomes its breath, your stillness its silence. The trees around you sway gently, as if nodding in recognition. The stars blink slowly, their light filtering through the canopy like distant memories of the same photons that once touched those first leaves. You are surrounded by quiet teachers, each leaf a page, each breeze a turning. You rest in the understanding that life itself is a conversation between light and matter, between giving and receiving, between stillness and motion. And as your eyes close, you hear one last whisper, soft as chlorophyll's sigh. The light may fade, but its story continues, even in darkness. Life listens. In the soft stillness of dawn, before the first bird sings, before even the air begins to stir, a quiet work begins. You may not see it, but every leaf, every blade of grass, every tiny plankton drifting in the sea is preparing to breathe light. It is the great inhale of the planet, photosynthesis in motion, the green pulse that sustains nearly every breath you take. You open your imagination and feel it. The Earth's surface shimmers faintly under the newborn sun. Light falls like a tender veil, touching each leaf, each cell, each fragment of life. Somewhere in the ocean, a cyanobacterium, one of the oldest creatures alive, captures that light and begins its ancient task. For billions of years, it has done the same thing. Every morning, it drinks sunlight, exhales oxygen, and gives the planet its breath. You might imagine these microscopic beings as tiny artisans, weaving with threads of light. They take water from the sea and carbon dioxide from the air, and with the magic of sunlight, they spin them into sugar, the building block of all life. And from this delicate transformation comes something invisible yet profound: oxygen, released softly into the waters, into the skies, into your lungs. The chemistry is simple, but the story is not. In each green cell, chlorophyll acts as a gentle conductor in this symphony of light. It captures energy from photons, those golden messengers from the sun, and channels them into molecular dances that turn air and water into nourishment. The world breathes because of this, because light becomes life. When you inhale, you take in molecules that were once part of a forest canopy drifting through the leaves of the Amazon, or perhaps part of a wave where plankton bloomed beneath the Antarctic sun. Oxygen is a traveler. It passes through lungs and rivers, through fire and wind. It connects every creature, a shared rhythm that unites the living earth. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine following a single oxygen molecule as it escapes from a leaf. It trembles for a heartbeat, then rises gently, carried by the wind. It might drift over mountains or swirl into the ocean mist. It might be drawn into your lungs this very night, filling your chest with the breath of ancient forests. That molecule could have been exhaled by a fern during the age of dinosaurs, or by a green algae that once floated in primordial seas. And now, here it is, within you. You are part of this ancient exchange. Each breath you take is both an ending and a beginning. You inhale what plants exhale. You exhale what they inhale. Together, you and the trees share an invisible conversation, one that has never truly ceased since the first spark of green appeared upon the earth. The story of oxygen is also a story of transformation. Long before life filled the land, the Earth's atmosphere was different, heavy, dense, without the breath of air you now know. But slowly, through millions of years of quiet labor, those first photosynthetic organisms released oxygen into the oceans and later into the sky. It was a revolution without noise, a transformation without violence. The world was remade by silence and light. As oxygen accumulated, strange things began to happen. Minerals rusted for the first time. New kinds of chemistry became possible. Life evolved to use this newfound element, first tentatively, then with astonishing creativity. Cells learned to burn food with oxygen, releasing energy with exquisite efficiency. Muscles began to move. Nerves began to fire. Thought itself, one day, began to arise, all made possible by that gentle, invisible gas. You breathe again, slowly, and feel how intimately oxygen shapes you. With every breath, your cells awaken. Inside each one, tiny powerhouses called mitochondria use oxygen to unlock energy stored in food, a process called respiration. The same principle that drives the green cell in sunlight also drives your heartbeat in the dark. Life mirrors itself. Photosynthesis and respiration, light and breath, each completing the other. You can almost hear it if you listen, a rhythm older than memory. Inhale, exhale. The planet breathes, and so do you. The forests, the oceans, the air all pulse together, a single living organism made of countless parts. Imagine standing beneath a forest canopy at sunrise. The air smells faintly of dew and life. Sunlight filters through the leaves, scattering in shades of emerald and gold. You can almost sense the trees exhaling around you, their invisible breath mingling with yours. You realize that in every sense, the forest is alive, not just in sound or movement, but in chemistry, in rhythm, in the shared pulse of oxygen flowing between you and somewhere far away. Deep in the ocean, tiny plankton are doing the same. They, too, are turning sunlight into breath. Together, they make more than half of the oxygen on this planet. Each droplet of seawater may hold hundreds of these microscopic artists, painting the air with life, unseen but indispensable. The act of breathing, which feels so ordinary, is, in truth, an exchange of gratitude. The green world gives, and you receive. You give back what you cannot hold, carbon dioxide, and it becomes their gift again. There is no ownership, no taking, only sharing. This balance is what sustains life, the delicate circle that has never broken. As you drift deeper into this thought, you begin to feel the quiet beauty of it, how light, air, and life are woven together in endless reciprocity. The simplicity of it feels like peace, to exist, to breathe, to belong. You might picture the earth from space, a glowing blue marble wrapped in veils of cloud. Its green continents and silver oceans shimmer softly beneath the sunlight. And surrounding it all, a thin layer of atmosphere holds the breath of billions of beings. It looks fragile, almost like glass, yet it carries within it the memory of every forest, every creature, every moment of respiration since the dawn of life. The poet in you feels it, this fragile equilibrium, this shimmering balance. The scientist in you understands it, molecules, photons, reactions. The dreamer in you rests within it, the quiet assurance that, even now, as you breathe, life continues its endless work of renewal. And perhaps, in the stillness of the night, as you listen to your own breathing, you can sense that same rhythm in the world around you, the slow expansion of the chest, the gentle release, the murmur of leaves outside your window, the hush of wind across the sea. It is the same song repeated everywhere, the hymn of oxygen, the pulse of green. If you could translate it into words, it might say, "You are not separate. You are the breath of the earth itself." For a moment, imagine your body dissolving into this rhythm, your lungs merging with the forest canopy, your heartbeat syncing with the waves, your breath blending with the wind. Everything becomes one continuous motion, light to leaf, leaf to air, air to you, you to light again. The boundaries fade. You are both giver and receiver, part of an endless, luminous exchange. And as the night deepens, your thoughts drift gently toward rest. You realize that photosynthesis, this quiet green miracle, is not just a process of science, but of serenity. It reminds you that life doesn't always roar or demand attention. Sometimes it simply shines softly, transforms quietly, breathes gently. Tomorrow, the sun will rise again. The light will return. The leaves will reopen. The oceans will shimmer with planktonic life. The pulse of oxygen will continue, steady and unseen. And when you breathe, you will take in a piece of that story, the work of countless green lives, offering themselves to sustain your own. So as you close your eyes, remember this: the air around you is a memory of light. Every breath is the echo of a leaf. And life, in all its mystery, continues to breathe through you. You drift toward sleep now, with a final, quiet thought. If light can become breath, what else, in silence, might become life? You close your eyes and imagine yourself sinking slowly through the soft soil. The air grows damp and sweet, filled with the scent of moss and ancient rain. The world above the trees, the leaves, the birdsong, begins to fade into a low hum. Beneath you, the ground feels alive, pulsing with invisible threads of connection. You drift downward, past the surface roots, into the secret world where the planet remembers. Here, every grain of soil is a library. Each particle holds the history of life and decay, a quiet record of storms and seasons, of roots that once lived and crumbled into dust. The soil, though silent, is a keeper of memory. And as you move through it, you feel that memory not as words, but as a rhythm, patient, grounded, eternal. Roots curl like slow rivers, reaching out not only for water, but for each other. They stretch and intertwine, forming vast webs beneath forests, linking tree to tree. You realize that a forest is not a collection of individuals. It is one breathing being, connected through the earth's veins. Every leaf that trembles in sunlight owes its life to these unseen lines below. You pause in this hidden place and notice something more delicate still: the threads of fungi, fine as gossamer, weaving between roots like starlight trapped in soil. This is the mycorrhizal network, sometimes called the wood wide web. It carries more than nutrients. It carries messages, warnings, care. When one tree thirsts, another may share water through these fungal bridges. When insects bite at its bark, the tree sends signals through this underground network, whispering chemical words of caution to its neighbors. You feel the pulse of this exchange, slow, deliberate, older than any language you know. It is a conversation of molecules, an orchestra of ions and sugars and electrical flickers. The forest is speaking softly, and the earth is listening. A sense of awe spreads through you. You imagine a vast oak, hundreds of years old, its roots entwined with those of saplings and shrubs. Through the fungal threads, it passes bits of carbon, traces of nitrogen, gifts of sustenance. It nourishes its kin and even strangers nearby. The soil beneath the oak is a marketplace of generosity. This is not the intelligence of thought, but the wisdom of being, the slow knowing of what must be shared for life to continue. You begin to understand that memory is not only held in minds. It can live in systems, in patterns of exchange and renewal. Somewhere nearby, a raindrop falls and seeps into the soil. It travels downward, touched by mineral and microbe, until it meets the root of a fern. The fern drinks it slowly, then exhales moisture into the air. That single droplet's journey becomes part of a vast cycle. Water, soil, root, breath, every molecule moves through time like a note in a timeless song. As you rest deeper in the earth's quiet, you begin to sense the microorganisms that live here too. Bacteria, countless and tireless, are breaking down old leaves into nutrients that will feed tomorrow's growth. Nematodes slide between grains of sand. The soil teems with invisible life, each creature playing a part in maintaining balance. If you listen closely, the silence itself begins to hum, a low, steady vibration of cooperation. You remember how easily you overlook this world when walking above it, the grass beneath your feet, the ground that holds your weight without complaint. Yet beneath every step lies a universe of connection, unseen but essential. The earth is not a solid mass beneath you. It is a breathing network of relationships, each one alive in its own quiet way. The deeper you go, the more you sense time stretching differently here. Roots do not rush. Fungi do not hurry. Even the smallest processes unfold in patient rhythm, carbon cycling through forms, nutrients moving from decay to growth, life to life again. You feel your heartbeat slowing, sinking to that of the earth's. It is peaceful here, a peace born not of stillness but of balance. Every act of decay becomes an act of creation. The fallen leaf is not lost. It is remembered by the soil, translated into food for roots and future blooms. Memory, you realize, is not always something that looks backward. Sometimes it is the soil's way of preparing for what will come next. You imagine yourself as a seed now, small and resting. Around you, the soil holds you gently, not a grave, but a cradle. You feel the touch of moisture, the warmth of microorganisms, the faint vibration of roots nearby. Everything in this darkness seems to whisper, "Grow when you're ready." You take comfort in that patience. There is no urgency here. The earth moves at its own pace, slow and sure, cycling endlessly through loss and renewal. Perhaps you think wisdom lies not in speed, but in stillness, in allowing connections to deepen unseen. Your awareness drifts outward again. You see vast forests stretching across the planet, from the Amazon to the taiga, each one rooted in this same invisible architecture of life. The same fungal threads that weave beneath your feet also stretch under distant continents, forming global networks of communication and exchange. Life is talking to itself, quietly across the planet's skin above ground. The trees sway in the wind, unaware of how profoundly they depend on this buried wisdom. Yet you know now that every rustle of leaf, every shade of green, is a voice in harmony with the soil below. Without roots, there is no forest. Without the unseen, there is no seen. That you rise gently toward the surface again, carrying the calm weight of this realization. The world above feels lighter now, each breath a continuation of the earth's own rhythm. The air smells of moss and possibility. You open your eyes and sense the invisible ties between all living things, delicate, enduring, wise. For a moment, you listen to the silence. It is not empty. It is full of communication, too slow for human ears. The murmur of roots, the memory of rain, the patient wisdom of the world beneath your feet. And as you breathe, you feel that same intelligence within yourself, the instinct to connect, to share, to sustain. Perhaps that too is nature's memory living through you. You exhale softly, and the ground seems to breathe back. The air above the forest trembles with a quiet pulse of renewal. In the stillness between breaths, a question forms, a gentle one. If the roots remember and the soil listens, what does the sunlight remember when it falls upon the green? You open your eyes to dawn. Soft light spills across the world, unhurried, tender, brushing leaves, water, and the quiet curve of your hand. It feels like a beginning, yet this light is unimaginably old. Each golden ray began its journey in the heart of the sun, in a furnace of fusion where hydrogen becomes helium, and the tiniest differences in mass are set free as pure energy. That energy, this light, travels outward through layers of the sun for tens of thousands of years before escaping into space. And now it rests upon your skin, the final step of a journey that began before your species existed. You are, at this moment, being touched by the past. You close your eyes and feel it. The warmth that seeps through you is not just heat, it is memory. Light remembers its origin, not as thought, but as rhythm. You are part of that rhythm, a brief echo in the great pulse of the universe. A photon leaves the sun at last, slipping free of the solar surface. It travels 93 million miles in a little more than 8 minutes, silent, tireless, weightless. It passes through the thin air, through leaves, through the smallest particle of dust. When it finally meets the green of a leaf, it gives itself up, absorbed, transformed. Remembered inside that leaf, the photon's energy wakes electrons in the chlorophyll, starting the intricate miracle of photosynthesis. The leaf drinks sunlight and turns it into life, binding carbon from the air into sugars, molecules that become wood, fruit, or the breath you draw now. Light, you realize, has become you. You breathe in, and somewhere in that simple act, you carry the quiet fire of the sun. The energy that once shone across empty space now stirs your cells, powers your heartbeat, and lets you think these thoughts. Every moment of life is built upon this ancient exchange. Energy does not vanish. It only transforms. The warmth on your skin becomes the sugar in a tree. The sugar becomes a spark in an animal's muscle, the rhythm of flight in a bird, or the gentle motion of your chest as you sleep. When you exhale, you return some of it back into the air, back into the endless cycle of change. You are both receiver and giver of light. The world around you glows with evidence of this endless return. The glint of the ocean, the shimmer on a blade of grass, the amber of autumn leaves, each is light remembered in a different form. Every reflection, every shadow, every flame is part of a single cosmic conversation between energy and matter. You think of the stars scattered across the night sky, countless suns, each releasing its own light into the dark. Some of that light began traveling long before Earth formed. Perhaps, one evening, a photon from a distant star will land softly on your face as you look upward, and for an instant, that starlight will know completion. Light is patient. It crosses years, centuries, and emptiness without tiring. It carries no map, yet it always finds a place to rest on ocean waves, mountain stone, or the surface of your eyes. You are surrounded by the relics of its journey, by warmth that was once starlight, by life that was once radiation. The more you think of it, the more astonishing it becomes. Nothing truly ends. It only changes its shape, its brightness, its story. Even the light you see now, that soft, fading gold of evening, will someday cool into another form. The energy it carries might become motion in the air, vibration in a molecule, or warmth in a sleeping body. Every flicker continues on, unseen but not lost. In the language of physics, energy is conserved. But in the language of poetry, light is remembered. You picture a forest at sunrise. Every leaf tilts toward the light, like a dreamer toward warmth. The sun rises not just to begin a new day, but to renew an ancient promise that life and light will continue exchanging their gifts. The roots below draw what the leaves gather above. The energy flows downward through stems, into soil, into fungi and roots and earthworms and seeds waiting for spring. The forest is not a collection of parts. It is a memory held together by light. You recall how, in the last chapter, beneath the soil, everything pulsed in shadow. Quiet networks of roots and fungi, speaking through darkness. Now, light meets that hidden wisdom. The two worlds merge, one above, one below, forming the living circuit of the planet. Every photon that enters the leaf eventually leaves again, transformed into breath, or warmth, or motion. Some part of that energy might drift into a cloud, shaping the rain that nourishes new growth. Another part might ripple across the ocean, pushing waves toward the shore. Even your thoughts, the gentle firing of neurons, are small dances of energy, borrowed from the same cosmic source. You, too, are made of sunlight remembering itself, the atoms in your body, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, once formed in stars that died long before Earth was born. Those stars exploded, scattering their elements across space. Over time, gravity gathered them into this world, this moment, this breath. You think about that as the air cools. Every breath, every blink, every quiet heartbeat, all powered by the residue of ancient light. The same light that once kindled stars now burns softly in you. When night falls, it does not mean the light is gone. It only means it has taken another form. The heat of day becomes the gentle warmth that cradles your dreams. The light reflected from the moon is sunlight softened, a memory diffused, silvered, shared. Even the faint glow of distant galaxies is light that never truly sleeps. The world, you realize, is luminous not just because of what you see, but because of what continues unseen. Somewhere a candle burns. Its flame dances, golden and alive, until the wax is gone. Yet the energy of that flame is not destroyed. It rises as warmth, as carbon, as faint waves of infrared light moving quietly into the universe. What looks like an ending is only a change in form, a continuation written in another script. And so it is with everything, with stars, forests, oceans, and you. The same energy that once blazed in the heart of the sun now lives inside your quiet pulse. And when your body returns to the earth, that energy will move onward again, into soil, into air, into future sunlight. Nothing is ever lost. Not truly. The memory of light endures in every atom, every seed, every breath. It is the common language between the living and the inanimate, the past and the present. It connects galaxies to grasses, stars to sleeping minds. You exhale slowly, and the air glows faintly in your imagination, as though the warmth leaving your lungs is a farewell to the photons that once entered through a leaf. The night deepens. You feel your body soften, your breath lengthen. Somewhere far above, the sun still burns, unseen, unwavering. Its light moves outward into infinity, becoming the quiet pulse of the cosmos. And as you drift toward sleep, you feel that light within you to patient, remembering, infinite. You wonder, softly, what stories that light will tell next. You take a slow breath. The air slides gently into your lungs, cool at first, then warm as it mingles with the rhythm of your body. You do not see it, yet in that breath rides a tiny traveler, a carbon atom, born long before the world was young. It drifts through you, as it has through oceans, mountains, forests, and the living hearts of countless beings before you. You have become, for a moment, its newest home. The story of carbon begins in the furnaces of stars. In their final moments, when gravity folds them inward and fire consumes their cores, new elements are forged. Carbon, 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons, emerges from that cosmic heat, a stable bridge between the fiery and the living. When those stars die, they scatter their atoms into space like seeds flung from an ancient hand. Out of that dust, worlds are born. Out of that dust, you are born. When the earth cooled and waters gathered, carbon found new ways to wander. It slipped into the oceans as dissolved gas, danced with hydrogen to form organic molecules, and settled inside the soft tissues of the first single-celled life. The same carbon that now moves through your blood once glowed within the bones of ancient algae. Over eons, it has changed forms, gas to rock, plant to creature, breath to breath. It never dies. It only transforms. In the vast forests of Earth, the trees stand as monuments to this transformation. They draw in carbon dioxide through tiny mouths called stomata, opening and closing like the slow pulse of lungs. Through photosynthesis, they weave sunlight, water, and carbon into the green fabric of life. Every leaf is a quiet laboratory, capturing light and reshaping air into the sweetness of existence, sugars, fibers, and roots that feed all living things. When you walk through a forest and breathe, you and the trees are exchanging ancient promises. What you exhale, they take in. What they release, you receive. Your breath and their breath are not separate acts, but two halves of a single whisper, shared between species, shared between worlds. The carbon you give becomes part of their body, a leaf, a branch, a seed, and in time, perhaps, it returns to you again through fruit or air, completing another loop in its eternal cycle. Deep beneath the ocean's surface, carbon follows different paths. It sinks into coral reefs, trapped in the calcium shells of tiny plankton. When these creatures die, their remains drift down like snow, a slow, endless fall of white dust settling into the seabed to form limestone, chalk, and the skeletons of mountains yet to come. The stone beneath your feet, the marble that shapes temples and tombs, holds the silent story of carbon, resting, waiting, patient, sometimes. Through fire or motion of the earth, that buried carbon rises again. Volcanoes exhale it back into the air. The planet breathes, just as you do. Carbon released from rock drifts into clouds, dissolves into rain, and returns to the soil. The entire earth is alive in this exchange, a breathing organism, ancient and vast, exhaling and inhaling across millions of years. Now bring your attention back to your own breath. Feel the gentle rise of your chest. Within you, carbon dances again. It binds to oxygen in your lungs, travels through your bloodstream, joins the energy of your cells. In every cell, it becomes part of something miraculous. Glucose breaking apart to release warmth and motion, to power thought, to feed the light behind your eyes. Without carbon, there would be no fire in the stars, no life in the oceans, no you lying here, breathing softly into the quiet. Consider the strange intimacy of this cycle. The same atom may have once rested in the petal of a rose, the wing of a bird, or the skin of a whale. It could have been part of a mountain or a melody, a leaf or a heartbeat. Now it passes through you, sharing your warmth, joining your story for a moment before it moves on again. You do not possess it. You only host it, lovingly, briefly, before letting it go. And that release, your exhale, is not an ending but a gift. As the carbon drifts outward, it begins again, seeking the green tendrils of a nearby plant, a wave's crest, or the waiting embrace of a raindrop. You are part of this sacred circulation, a rhythm that has continued unbroken for over 3 billion years. Nothing in nature is ever lost. Everything only changes hands. In this way, carbon connects all living things, not metaphorically, but literally. The atoms that shape your bones and thoughts are shared across the world. When you touch another being, you meet yourself in a different form. The air between you is a bridge of memory, woven of shared particles, shared existence. The stars exhaled you, the trees breathe with you. The ocean receives your sighs and returns them as wind. Even the act of sleeping continues this dialogue. As you rest, your breath deepens, slow and regular. Carbon moves in and out like the tides, each cycle whispering the same promise. Life continues. The body sleeps, but the elements do not. They move, they trade places. Somewhere far away, a forest breathes with you at this very moment, your exhalation becoming its nourishment, its release returning as your next breath. And so, when morning light filters softly across your skin, remember that it, too, is part of this chain. The light that fuels the trees feeds your breath. The air you release nourishes the light's next creation. It is a perfect, infinite loop, one of balance, beauty, and belonging. You are not apart from nature's cycles. You are the cycle itself, experienced through awareness. There is peace in understanding this. You no longer need to hold or grasp. You only need to breathe and let go. Somewhere deep in the soil, carbon rests again, bound in the roots of new life. It waits there, quietly, until the next moment it is called upward, perhaps in the laughter of a child, perhaps in the slow heartbeat of a whale. It will return, again and again, across the endless stretch of time, learning the shape of existence through everything it touches. You, too, are learning how to be a part of something that never ends, how to live as both giver and receiver, how to find stillness in motion and eternity in a single breath. As you lie in the calm of night, breathing slowly, imagine your next exhale drifting outward into the quiet, into the stars. Perhaps 1,000 years from now, that same breath will rise in another being, another world. Perhaps it will carry a memory of this very moment, of you, and the peace you found in knowing that everything, even breath itself, belongs to everyone. And as that thought settles, the air within you softens again, like a tide returning to the shore. You breathe in, you breathe out. You are part of the same rhythm that moves mountains, forests, oceans, and stars. The carbon flows on endlessly, tenderly reminding you that in every breath, you are home, and somewhere in that endless journey, another cycle is beginning, one that carries the quiet shimmer of transformation, waiting to rise again from the earth. Close your eyes and imagine sinking gently into the ground beneath you. The noise of the world fades, footsteps dissolve, wind softens, even the air seems to hush. You descend through soil and root, through hidden veins of clay and sand, until you touch the cool skin of stone. It feels timeless, steady, utterly at rest. Here, in this quiet deep, the earth keeps its memories, not in pages or ink, but in the texture of minerals, the swirl of crystal lattice, the patient lines of strata pressed by time. Every rock is a chapter, every grain a syllable, written over millions of years in the silent language of geology. You rest your hand on a surface older than life itself, granite, perhaps born in the heart of fire, cooled in darkness, beneath mountains long gone. Inside it, atoms are arranged like dancers, frozen mid-motion. Silicon, oxygen, aluminum, all locked in a rhythm that only deep time can hear. To the stone, your heartbeat is a flicker. To you, its stillness feels infinite. The earth's crust is not dead. It breathes slowly, too slowly for you to see. Mountains rise like slow inhalations, crumble like sighs. Rivers carve valleys as if tracing veins. The crust shifts, bends, folds, not asleep, but dreaming. You are touching the dream of the planet itself. When you listen closely, you can almost hear it. A low hum, the vibration of continents drifting, magma churning, tectonic plates sliding against one another. The world beneath you moves with a patience so immense it becomes silence. Yet in that silence there is life, not the quick kind of beating hearts and blinking eyes, but the slow pulse of transformation. You imagine molten rock deep below, glowing softly like the embers of a sleeping star. This is the mantle, a sea of solid stone that flows over centuries, reshaping the skin of the world. Every island, every mountain chain, every ocean trench began here. The earth's interior is a kind of memory furnace, reshaping old matter into new landscapes, erasing and rewriting history with heat. Think of basalt cooling in the deep sea, forming black glassy pillows. Think of limestone, born from the bodies of ancient sea creatures, compressed into cliffs by the weight of time. Each rock type is a story of origin and endurance. You can trace their lineage through the periodic table, through elements once scattered in supernova. The stones under your feet were once stardust. You breathe slowly. The idea feels heavy, grounding. You are surrounded by silent witnesses, stones that remember the birth of oceans, the death of forests, the slow drift of continents toward one another. They have seen every dawn, every storm, every extinction, and every rebirth. If you hold a piece of sandstone in your palm, you are holding the memory of wind. Each grain was once part of a mountain, carried grain by grain through centuries of erosion. If you hold obsidian, you are touching a frozen moment of volcanic fire, lava cooled so quickly it became glass. And if you hold marble, you hold transformation itself, limestone reborn under pressure into something new, smoother, denser, luminous. You realize the stones are not asleep, they are simply patient. Their timescale dwarfs yours. What feels like stillness is motion stretched beyond comprehension. The rock, cycle, erosion, deposition, metamorphosis, melting. Crystallization is a slow heartbeat that has pulsed since the earth was young. Sometimes you find fossils within stone, delicate spirals, shells, or the imprint of a leaf. These are memories too, recorded in calcium and silica, once soft, once living, now eternalized in mineral form. The stone has taken the memory of life and turned it into art. There is something deeply peaceful about this. The rocks do not rush. They do not resist time. They yield to it, and through that yielding, they endure. You too are made of minerals, calcium in your bones, iron in your blood, phosphorus in your cells. The earth is not beneath you, it is within you. The same elements that shaped the continents flow quietly in your veins. You picture the movement of continents, vast plates drifting on the mantle like slow ships on a molten sea. They collide and separate, build mountains and tear rifts. The Himalayas rise, still, millimeter by millimeter, as the Indian plate presses against Eurasia. Beneath the Pacific, new crust forms every day from molten rock, while elsewhere, old crust sinks and melts back into the mantle. The earth is a breathing body, exhaling continents, inhaling oceans. When you lie down at night, the ground beneath you seems unmoving, yet deep below, an ocean of magma flows. You sleep upon a restless world, one that cradles you as it reshapes itself. You are safe, held in its slow embrace, part of its dreaming motion. Imagine now the oldest rocks, zircon crystals, more than 4 billion years old, found in the deserts of Australia. They are fragments of the planet's first crust, older than the moonlit oceans, older than almost any living thing. Inside their microscopic structure, scientists have found traces of water, hints of early life, whispers of the first stability after chaos. Those crystals are the Earth's earliest memories, the beginning of coherence after the violence of creation. Time stretches. Your sense of now fades into something larger. You feel the layers of history beneath you, like pages of a book written in pressure and patience. The Cambrian seas, where trilobites crawled. The Carboniferous forests, where giant ferns reached toward sunlight. The volcanic winters and ice ages. Each one left a mark, a line, a sediment of memory. The stones do not forget. Even as they break, their fragments carry the same record forward. When you touch the earth, you touch the ruins of mountains, the dust of ancient worlds. If you listen deeply, you might sense the resonance, a slow, humming music that travels through the crust. Seismologists call them surface waves, but you can think of them as the Earth's songs, vibrations that echo after earthquakes, rolling like distant thunder through the stone. These waves are the Earth's breath made sound, reminding you that stillness is only an illusion. At night, when the world quiets, this thought can comfort you. you are surrounded by the memory of endurance. Everything changes, yet everything continues. The earth carries your story to each step you take, presses gently into its surface, leaving microscopic traces that will one day become part of the sediment of tomorrow, perhaps. This is what peace feels like, to exist within something vast and ancient, to know that your moments are woven into its continuity. The stones beneath you are not indifferent. They are caretakers of time. They cradle your smallness without judgment, reminding you that even the briefest life contributes to eternity. You breathe deeply, imagining the warmth of the planet's core, a hidden sun beneath your feet. That heat, born from radioactive decay and the memory of formation, has never gone out. It radiates slowly upward, keeping the earth alive. The warmth that touches your skin in daylight is not the only fire sustaining you. Another burns in secret, deep below. You drift, now, between awareness and dream. You are both above and within the planet. The atoms in your body, silicon, carbon, iron, once lived in stone. One day they may return there. You are not separate from the earth's sleep. You are part of its dream. The surface you walk on, the mountains you see, the pebbles you hold, all are expressions of patience. They teach you that transformation need not be hurried, that stillness can be movement, if only seen across enough time as you rest. Imagine yourself turning slowly into stone, not in fear, but in peace. Imagine your thoughts settling, crystallizing into calm order. Imagine time flowing around you, reshaping but never erasing what you are. You are memory. You are matter. You are part of the deep continuity that has no end. And as the planet dreams beneath you, it whispers, softly, endlessly, that even in stillness, everything moves. Beneath the quiet crust of the earth, in the cracks between stones that have slept for eons, something begins to stir. It is not loud. It is not fast. It moves like thought, invisible at first, patient and deliberate. Moisture gathers, minerals dissolve, and in that gentle alchemy, life begins again, as it has always begun. You imagine it, a single cell nestled in a droplet, surrounded by rock and water. It does not know what it is, only that it wants to live. It divides, stretches, reaches outward. From these tiny acts of persistence, the earth begins to breathe in color, green, the color of renewal, of awakening. In the beginning, there were only stones and seas. Yet the stones held memory, and the seas held possibility. When sunlight met those waters, something miraculous happened. Energy transformed into life. Photons, the smallest messengers of light, struck the surface of ancient oceans, and the first photosynthetic organisms turned that light into food. They turned sunlight into existence. You can picture it, even now, ancient cyanobacteria drifting in warm shallows, catching sunlight like sleeping rafts on the sea. They did not yet know the name of what they were doing, but they were changing the world. Slowly, softly, they began to fill the air with oxygen. It is strange to think that breathing, such an effortless act, began with them. You take in air now, your lungs rising like tides, and inside that air are echoes of those first breaths of the planet. Every inhalation you take is a continuation of that ancient green miracle. Life, in its simplest form, began to teach the stones how to soften. The hard crust of the earth cracked open with roots and microbes. Minerals turned into soil, and soil into nourishment. Stone, which once only dreamed, began to participate in growth. You can imagine the first moss clinging to rock, small, fragile, yet unstoppable. Its green threads reached into the fissures, turning the lifeless into the living. Over time, these quiet colonizers prepared the world for forests, for flowers, for you. Photosynthesis, such a scientific word, yet so poetic in essence. The translation of sunlight into sugar, the alchemy of energy into structure. Each leaf you have ever seen is a tiny factory of miracles, catching photons, breaking apart water, releasing oxygen, weaving molecules of life. The process hums within every green surface, a symphony of molecular motion, too small for the eye but vast in consequence. You picture a leaf now, veins delicate as rivers, edges glowing softly in morning light. Inside, chlorophyll absorbs sunlight, its molecules vibrating with joy. That vibration becomes chemical reaction, and from that reaction comes everything that breathes. The air around you is not empty. It is a legacy. The stones of Chapter 7 still remember, deep below, but now their dreams are shared with the living. The carbon once buried in them begins to cycle through leaves, through animals, through air. What was solid becomes fluid. What was buried becomes breath. Every tree you pass, every blade of grass beneath your feet is engaged in the same ancient ritual, turning light into life. Yet it is a gentle ritual, unhurried and quiet. Unlike the blaze of stars, plants shine inwardly, holding their light in silence. They do not burn, they glow from within. You might think of plants as simple, but simplicity here is strength. Their calmness is their intelligence. They listen more than they move. They wait, respond, and adapt, not through haste, but through patience. Roots reach down into the memory of stone, seeking water, minerals, and darkness. Leaves stretch upward, longing for the sun. Between them flows a conversation, a constant exchange of air, water, and light. Through this balance, the planet finds harmony. As you listen, you realize that you, too, are part of this exchange. The oxygen you breathe comes from the photosynthetic work of leaves and algae. The carbon you exhale becomes their nourishment. Together, you and the green world create a perfect rhythm. Inhale, exhale, inhale. The same breath shared across species, across eras, across the boundary between rock and sky. Imagine walking through a forest at dawn. Mist curls like smoke, and dew glistens on leaves. You can hear the faint rustle of photosynthesis, not as sound, but as presence. Each plant is awake in its own stillness, drawing light into itself, quietly feeding the world. You pause beside a tree, its bark cool beneath your fingertips. Inside, sap flows upward, carrying sugars made from sunlight to every cell. You are touching motion older than language, the same circulation that once moved through the first green cells of the sea. The earth, in this moment, feels alive. The stones have not vanished. They cradle the roots. The roots, in turn, draw nourishment from them. Everything depends on everything else, a web woven from patience and light. You begin to understand that life is not an interruption of stillness, but an expression of it. The calm of stone and the motion of leaf are not opposites. They are partners in the same great cycle. From the earth's dream, life rises not to escape the ground, but to bring it into the sky. Somewhere deep in the ocean, photosynthetic plankton float like drifting stars. They shimmer in sunlight, invisible to most eyes, yet they produce half the oxygen of the planet. These microscopic beings, delicate as dust, hold the balance of air and water in their invisible hands. Even the vastness of the atmosphere depends on the smallest whispers of life. It comforts you to know that something so fragile sustains so much. It reminds you that power does not always roar. Sometimes it hums. Sometimes it is green. Sometimes it is quiet. You think of your own body, of how every cell within you breathes through the gift of plants. The mitochondria in your cells, descendants of ancient bacteria, still remember that first pact between light and life. They take in oxygen, release energy, and return carbon to the air. You are, in essence, a continuation of photosynthesis, the echo of that awakening in a different form. Even in sleep, your breathing carries the memory of sunlight. You inhale what the trees exhale, and they inhale what you exhale. It is an endless, tender dialogue between species, between forms of being. There is a peace in realizing that your existence is sustained not by dominance, but by exchange. You are part of the same soft network that began billions of years ago, when the first cell turned sunlight into sugar. That act of transformation still echoes through you. You sit beneath an old tree, its roots intertwined with others beneath the soil, forming a web, the mycorrhizal network, fungi connecting trees to trees, sharing nutrients, signals, and warning whispers. It is the Earth's hidden internet, older than thought, pulsing quietly in the dark. Through it, forests share what they have, caring for the young, the sick, the shaded. The language of life is generosity. You close your eyes and breathe in the scent of leaves and earth. You can almost hear the slow symphony of carbon and oxygen, sunlight and water, root and rain. It is the same lullaby that has played for eons, steady and patient. If you could listen with the right ears, you would hear the green pulse of the planet, a rhythm not of seconds or minutes, but of seasons, centuries, and geological ages. The heartbeat of life is not fast. It is long, continuous, and kind. Somewhere beyond this moment, night will come again. The leaves will rest, closing their pores, breathing more slowly. Even plants have their sleep, a gentle dormancy beneath the stars. In their stillness, they hold light in memory, waiting for dawn. You, too, can rest in that rhythm. You are made of the same cycles, the same minerals, gases, and photons. What the Earth does on a planetary scale, you do in every breath. You realize, softly, that perhaps the purpose of green life was not only to create air, but to teach everything else how to be calm, how to live without hurry, how to transform light into peace. The stones remember the beginning. The leaves remember the light. And you, somewhere between them, remember both. The world sleeps, breathes, and waits for morning, where stone becomes soil and light becomes life again. You rest in the stillness of night, and the sound of water becomes your first thought. A faint murmur, like a memory half remembered, the sigh of rain against distant leaves, the pulse of waves returning to shore. Every sound of water feels ancient, familiar. It's because your body knows it, remembers it. It flows beneath your skin, filling every cell, turning the gears of life. But this is not just chemistry. This is history. Each molecule that glides through your veins has drifted across oceans, frozen inside glaciers, fallen as rain, risen as mist. It has seen more worlds than any creature could dream of. The water inside you once kissed the skin of a fern, perhaps 1,000 million years ago. You close your eyes. Imagine a single droplet suspended in sunlight. It shimmers not just with light, but with memory. In its fragile shape exists a silent intelligence, a way to hold pattern, to remember vibration. When sound touches it, the droplet trembles, forming ripples that echo in geometric grace. A physicist might call it resonance, but in this quiet space, it feels like recollection. Water listens to the wind, to the moon, to the warmth of your heartbeat. Its molecules are constantly dancing, forming, breaking, and reforming bonds in less than the blink of an eye. This endless choreography gives water a strange kind of awareness, not of thought, but of sensitivity. It responds to its environment like a mirror that ripples with emotion. In the ancient seas, this dance gave birth to life. Before there were roots, or lungs, or bones, there was water, a cradle, vast and blue. In its depths, light met matter and created form. The first cells floated here, fragile as bubbles, yet infinitely determined. They learned to divide, to remember, to adapt. Life was an echo of water's own rhythm, the oscillation between stillness and motion. The sea became the first mind. Every current a thought, every wave a pulse. And, as the ages turned, water climbed onto land within the bodies of creatures, carrying its ancient memory into every leaf, every breath, every cell. Even now, when you drink, you take in not just liquid, but lineage, the whispers of Earth's earliest days. You feel your pulse align with the rhythm of a tide you cannot see. Within your bloodstream, tiny rivers flow, plasma and ions, tracing paths as ancient as rivers themselves. You are not separate from the sea. You are its continuation. You are the ocean, shaped into the form of a question. There's something miraculous in how water holds shape for the unseen. Think of snowflakes, each a unique signature, written in frozen geometry. No two are alike, yet all are governed by the same laws of molecular grace. This, too, is memory, not of words or pictures, but of physics and possibility. The universe leaves its handwriting upon every crystal, every drop. In science, they say water has no true shape of its own. It yields, it conforms, it fills whatever holds it. Yet in that surrender lies strength. It teaches that to persist, one must be flexible. To last, one must flow. You begin to understand water is not just a substance. It is a philosophy written by nature. You breathe in and feel moisture gather in your lungs. You breathe out, and it leaves you as invisible vapor. The exchange is gentle, infinite. You are a temporary vessel for the same molecules that once formed rivers, clouds, and tears. When you cry, the ocean remembers. When you sweat, the sky takes note. The water that leaves you does not vanish. It continues its journey, carrying your warmth into the air, into rain, into life again. You imagine rain falling on ancient stone. Every droplet reshapes the rock, not with violence, but with patience. Over time, water carves canyons, hollows, mountains, births, valleys. Its power is quiet but absolute, the kind that does not fight but persists. That same patience exists within you. Every heartbeat, every breath, a slow carving toward balance. Some scientists study the structure of water, fascinated by how it can organize itself into clusters, how it behaves under subtle changes in temperature, pressure, or light. To them, it is a puzzle of bonds and angles. But to you, in this still moment, it is a teacher. It reminds you of fluidity, the art of adapting without losing essence. Like water, you reflect, absorb, and transform. Like water, you hold memories not in words, but in feelings. When light passes through a glass of water, it bends, refracted into color. You've seen it, the rainbow arc after rain, where sunlight and droplets meet in joy. Perhaps that, too, is memory, a promise that every storm ends with light. Water never forgets how to shine. Close your eyes again. You can almost feel the pull of the moon. Its gravity stirs tides, lifting whole oceans with invisible hands. It stirs you to your mood, your sleep, your inner rhythm. You are tidal by nature. Your blood, your breath, your emotions, all rise and fall in time with forces older than you can name. Water within you listens to the moon like an ancient friend. Even your thoughts flow like streams. One merges into another, weaving patterns in your mind's current. Sometimes they are calm pools of clarity. Sometimes they rush and tumble like rivers after rain. But always, beneath the movement, there is stillness, the deep ocean of awareness that never stirs. That, too, is you. You remember how water reflects. Look at a calm lake, and you'll see not just trees or stars, but yourself, still, doubled, softened. The reflection is not perfect, but neither are memories. Yet both tell a truth, that what exists on the surface hints at something deeper below. Your own reflection in water reminds you that identity, too, is fluid, shifting, shimmering, never fixed. And when you listen closely, you realize the world speaks in the language of water. The sigh of wind through leaves, the rhythm of your heart, the quiet between breaths, all are forms of flow. Life itself is an endless circulation, evaporation, condensation, rain, river, sea, and back again. So it is with you. Thought becomes feeling, feeling becomes rest, rest becomes thought again. A cycle without beginning or end. Tonight, as you drift toward sleep, imagine yourself dissolving gently into that flow. No boundaries, no edges, only movement and light. You are a droplet returning to the ocean, carrying stories of your journey. And the ocean welcomes you home, whispering, "You were never apart from me." Water remembers you. It knows your breath, your warmth, your calm. In every drop that glistens under starlight, a trace of your presence lingers. You are reflected in the world, and the world in you. The surface of thought begins to still. Ripples fade into quiet. In the deep, silent pool of your mind, you feel peace gather like mist, and somewhere, just beyond that calm, a new current begins to stir. A movement that feels like time itself, breathing. A rhythm waiting to unfold, soft as dawn. A hint of the next chapter, the weaving of time. Close your eyes and breathe. Notice how the world carries you forward, moment by moment, whether you perceive it or not. Time is a quiet companion, moving gently, persistently, weaving events into a tapestry too vast for your mind to grasp. It does not hurry. It does not pause. It simply flows, a river whose source is hidden and whose mouth touches everything. You feel the slow rhythm in your body. Your heartbeat is a measure of time. Your lungs rise and fall, marking seconds in a steady cadence. Even the smallest cells in your body follow this rhythm, dividing, repairing, and dissolving in synchrony with the larger world. Life is time made tangible. Look around in your mind's eye. Mountains, ancient and immovable, tell a story of millions of years. Their peaks were once molten rock, flowing in fire, cooled, lifted, and sculpted by forces beyond counting. Rivers carved valleys through stone, patiently tracing paths over eons. Every landscape is a memory of time's quiet work. Time can be gentle. It teaches without words, molds without malice. Consider a seed dropped into the soil. It does not demand sunlight immediately, nor rain in haste. It waits, it responds, it grows according to its own rhythm, yet always within the larger pulse of day and season. The seed is patient, and in that patience, it mirrors the cosmos. Imagine the planets turning in their orbits, billions of rotations weaving days and nights. Stars blaze and fade, some burning for millions of years, some collapsing into quiet remnants. Time touches everything equally, the fleeting and the eternal. It does not distinguish between the ephemeral life of a butterfly and the slow decay of a galaxy. All is woven together in the same loom. You can feel it in your memory. Moments of joy, sorrow, and wonder flow past like gentle waves. They do not vanish. They become threads in your consciousness, patterns in the fabric of your experience. Time is both river and archive. It carries, records, and shapes without effort. Even the water you breathe, the molecules you drink, moves in time's rhythm. Rain falls on a mountain, trickles into a stream, reaches the ocean, evaporates, and rises again. It is a loop that mirrors life itself, endlessly folding past into present. You are part of this cycle. Your existence is measured not only in seconds, but in the flow of molecules that have traveled across ages. Think of the stars you have seen. Light travels for millions of years to reach your eyes. You are witnessing the past, a memory made visible. Time is patient. It allows you to hold in your gaze something that no longer exists in the place from which it came. This is the quiet miracle of observation, the present embracing the past, the ephemeral touching the eternal. Sometimes time feels slow. Minutes stretch during moments of waiting, and hours crawl in the absence of attention. Other times it slips unnoticed. A day vanishes in a glance, a year in a memory. This is the nature of perception. Yet, beneath perception, time moves evenly, impartially, creating and erasing in the same continuous pulse. Imagine yourself walking along a forest path. Each leaf that falls, each branch that sways, is part of a slow choreography. Seasons shift, the forest responds. In autumn, leaves turn gold and red, releasing pigments that speak of chemical change and sunlight. In winter, snow blankets the earth, preserving the seeds beneath. Spring awakens them, and summer stretches growth to its fullest. Time is visible in these cycles, the patient sculptor of life. You feel your own body move with similar rhythms. Your sleep follows the night. Your energy rises with the day. Thoughts arrive and dissolve like clouds. Your mind and body are intertwined with the world's cycles, dancing to a rhythm you barely notice. In this dance, change is not abrupt but continuous, gentle, inevitable. Consider the rocks beneath your feet, the green leaves above, and the water that feeds both. All are participants in the quiet work of time. Rivers carve canyons, roots crack stone, water dissolves minerals, leaves grow and fall. Time orchestrates these movements without haste, without judgment. You can learn from this that change need not be violent to be profound. It is the patient accumulation of small moments, repeated endlessly. Think of your own life. Each decision, each gesture, each breath contributes to the weave of your experience. Moments accumulate, forming a pattern only visible when you step back. In solitude, you can sense this weaving. Time, though invisible, leaves its imprint in memory, in learning, in growth. Even the cosmos is part of this meditation. Galaxies rotate, stars are born and die, black holes pull and release. Time stretches beyond imagination, yet each particle follows its rhythm. The same forces that govern distant stars also govern your pulse, your breath, the flow of blood and water within you. All is connected in the grand, patient sweep of existence. And yet, paradoxically, time can feel immediate. A sunset, a song, a soft word, each is a whole universe compressed into an instant. The fleeting and the eternal coexist. You are a point on this continuum, aware, feeling, breathing. The past and future embrace in the present. Sometimes you can hear the subtle echoes of time in your own body, the slow recovery of a wound, the gradual strengthening of a muscle, the way memory shapes thought. All are small demonstrations of patience in motion. Nature whispers, all things unfold in their own time. You are part of this unfolding, and your awareness adds gentle meaning to the process. Time teaches that endings are beginnings. A leaf decays into soil, nourishing a seed. A star dies, scattering elements that birth planets. A thought dissolves into silence, making space for another. There is continuity in impermanence, peace in transformation. In your imagination, stretch your perception of time. Feel it flowing not just second by second, but century by century, eon by eon. You are a ripple in this vast river, but your ripple matters. You are a note in the symphony of existence, contributing to its ongoing melody. Every breath, every heartbeat, every quiet thought is a stitch in the fabric. As night deepens, you can let go of urgency. The world moves forward, and so do you, not by force, but by gentle participation. Time carries you, just as it carries rivers, mountains, oceans, and stars. Its rhythm is steady, patient, unshakable, and in yielding to it, you find a kind of freedom. You lie in stillness. The past lingers softly, the future hums gently, and the present flows like a ribbon of calm. Moments fold into each other, and you become both observer and participant. Time weaves your story into the universe's endless tapestry. All that was, all that is, all that will be folded together in patient, invisible artistry, and somewhere, far beyond the perception of thought, the earth keeps breathing. Water continues its journey. Green life continues to grow. Stones continue to dream. And you, a single conscious thread, continue to drift in time's soft embrace, waiting for the next cycle, the next awakening.